Alcatraz was the ultimate maximum security prison. It was located on a lonely island in the middle of San Francisco Bay, Alcatraz. In the 1930s, Alcatraz was already a forbidding place, surrounded by the cold, rough waters of the Pacific. The redesign included tougher iron bars, a series of strategically positioned guard towers, and strict rules, including a dozen checks a day of the prisoners. Escape seemed nearly impossible. Despite the odds, from 1934 until the prison was closed in 1963, 36 men tried 14 separate escapes. Nearly all were caught or didn't survive the attempt. The fate of three particular inmates, however, remains a mystery to this day. Here is their story. Frank Lee Morris. Frank Morris arrived at Alcatraz in January 1960 after convictions for bank robbery, burglary, and other crimes. With a reported IQ of more than 130, Morris also had a history of trying to break out of prisons. It was this habit that eventually landed him at the rock known as the Alcatraz. Anglin Brothers. John Anglin, Clarice Anglin. Later that year, a convict by the name of John Anglin was sent to Alcatraz, followed by his brother, Clarence, in early 1961. John and Clarence were brothers born into a family of 13 children. They both worked various farming and labor jobs until the two decided that robbery seemed like a more lucrative way to make a living. The brothers usually chose places that were closed to ensure nobody got hurt, and in one of their robberies they even used a toy gun to prevent real harm. While imprisoned in Atlanta, they attempted to escape more than once but never made it far. Eventually, they were both transferred to Alcatraz to serve out the remainder of their sentences for robbery. Alan West. A fourth man, Alan West, who also participated in the escape plot, was serving his second term at the Rock. Left behind on the night of the escape, West later told the authorities much of what is now known about the complicated scheme, and even claimed to have been mastermind himself. 4 prisoners decided to work together to form an escape plan. Clarence and John Anglin were brothers who had cells near inmates Alan West and Frank Lee Morris. This allowed them to easily communicate and devise their plan. Alcatraz also served as a factory where many inmates worked, making furniture, shoes, clothes, and other things for the military. That meant there were tools around that could be used to aid the inmates in an escape attempt. They just had to get their hands on the right tools. The group spent 18 months preparing for the breakout. To avoid detection while escaping, the inmates planned to use decoy dummies to distract the guards so they would not be chased. The creation of the decoy dummies was up to the Anglin brothers. The decoy dummies were created using real human hair they stole from the barber shop. The pair molded the heads out of soap wax and toilet paper. They were successful in creating the lifelike decoy to place in the empty beds for their escape. The group knew that they needed a raft and vest to make their way through the shark-infested waters safely, and Morris was assigned to create an instrument that would inflate the flotation device. Morris and the Anglin brothers had spent 3 months digging through the air vents in their cells. They created their digging tools by modifying random items they were able to steal. Spoons taken from the cafeteria and wood from the workshop were used to produce the crude tools they used to dig. The hollow space above the cell block was used as a storage area for tools and the decoy heads. They fashioned a makeshift inflatable raft out of 50 prison-issue World War II era raincoat cotton with rubber backings. Behind the cells, the holes led to an unguarded utility corridor with pipes leading up and down. They planned to make their way to the roof. They were able to found a perfect route to the roof of the building. All that was left for them to do was finish digging and give the signal for the escape to begin. After lights out, that same night, the 4 prisoners set up their decoys and began to make their way through the holes they had spent so much time digging. Alan West had misjudged the width of his cell hole and he had trouble getting through. Frankly, Morris did his best to help his friend get through the passage, but it proved to be too difficult. Alan West was left behind. The other 3 continued to the roof with ease. Once there, they made their way across it and prepared to head down the 50 feet of piping on the side of the building. At about 11:30 p.m. that night, Frankly, Morris and the Anglin brothers set off on their raft and were never seen again. Alan West kept digging. He finally broke through, but the other 3 were gone by the time he made it to the roof. West waited until morning, when he knew it would be discovered that the other 3 had actually escaped. On June 12, 1962, prison staff conducted a routine morning check of beds when they noticed the 3 convicts were not in their cells. Instead, their beds were occupied by dummy heads made of plaster, flesh tone paint, and real human hair that apparently deceived the night guards. The prison was immediately put into lockdown and the search began. Despite numerous investigations and extensive searches, no evidence was ever found to prove what happened to Frankly, Morris and the Anglin brothers. 17 years after the 3 made their daring escape, the investigation was closed on December 31, 1979. According to officials, the most likely outcome was the 3 men had drowned in San Francisco Bay. Robert Anglin, one of their brothers, confessed on his deathbed that he had been in contact with them until 1987, but he eventually fell out of touch. This was all revealed in a History Channel special that aired in 2015. This is a portion of the concealed area where prisoners constructed tools for their escape. This is the ventilator cover on the roof of the Alcatraz prison through which the inmates made their escape. This is the profile of the dummy head found in Morris' cell. The broken nose happened when the head rolled off the bed and hit the floor after a guard reached through the bars and pushed it, according to the US Marshal website. This photograph shows from left to right are the dummy heads used by Clarence Anglin, John Anglin and Frank Morris to conceal their absence from their beds. The head on the right was found under the bed of Alan West. 10 days after the convicts disappeared, the Coast Guard found a homemade life vest off Angel Island in San Francisco Bay, but no bodies were found. To Today, the truth of men's fate remains an unsolved mystery.